Hey everyone, it's Katrina from the Bead Mat and the Alluring Bead Boutique, and I'm back today to do part 2 of the ball ring demonstration video that we have been working on. And in this portion of the video, I'm going to be taking my little pearl peg cup that I already soldered together in the first video, and I'm going to be soldering it onto the ring band. And so if you've watched the first portion of the video, I talked to you guys about the materials. We made the little cup. We measured and soldered our ring band together. We soldered our little peg post inside of the ring band, which I used this little divot here on my magnesium block to hold that in place while I soldered the little pearl peg post in there, which is just a piece of 20 gauge wire. And I'm using all bronze wire, 16 gauge. The sheet is 24 gauge bronze sheet, and the wire is 22 gauge, or 20 gauge round wire. And this is the stone that we'll be eventually be putting together to make this beautiful ring. So in this portion of the video, I decided not to do the portion about polishing as far as these pieces for the ring go, because my daughter is having surgery, and today is Monday, and I'm leaving Wednesday, and I just didn't have time to get it all together. So for the polishing video, we're going to be doing the bald head pins, and then also I'm going to be doing this little gold-filled wire clasp that I've made for my daughter's necklace. I'm probably going to do a video on the pearl knotting for this necklace as I make it for her, because that's something we haven't done yet. But in this, like I said, I went ahead and polished up these pieces. And the reason I wanted to go ahead and get this polished is because it needs to be polished before I solder it onto this polished band, or what I'm going to have is a bunch of places that are going to be hard to get to do the polishing once it's put together. So that's one reason that I went ahead and got these pre-polished so I could get this done before I leave. So what you're going to need as far as tools go for this portion of making the ring is, of course, your pickle pot, which is over there ready and warm, the quenching cup with cool water, your copper tongs for reaching things in and out of the pickle. You're going to need your solder set up. So I have my rotating annealing pin here. I have my magnesium block for in my cross-locking tweezers. The reason I'm using the magnesium block, let me see if I can get you. You see where I've made this little. So sorry about the phone ringing. And I almost lost my place, but now I remember where I was going to talk about. Why I'm using the magnesium block here. If you can see where I've took these little sharp-nosed tweezers here, scratched out just a little place like that. And that will allow my ring to have a place to give it some steadiness. And in order to hold it into that groove, I'm going to use these cross-locking tweezers. So I'm just going to take them and pinch them open, and put my little ring band in there. And then I just have to play around with lining it up until it's sitting in this little groove and sitting the way that I want it to. So if you can see here, I've already gotten 2 little pieces of easy silver solder, and the reason I'm using this this type of solder here is because I'm going to be doing I think they call it sweat soldering, where you actually will get your solder up nice and hot, and then position the solder where you want it on the band, and then you will come back in with the heat while you put this piece here, and then you reheat the solder, and when that melts again, it will flow onto this because you'll apply flux here. So I was talking about the tools. So I have my little brush for putting on my flux. I have my blue handle pick, which I use for the easy solder. I've got the copper tongs ready, the pickle pot. Here's my little cup of the Mighty Flux that I got from Rio Grande. And I also have already snipped my solder off. One thing about this hard solder that you want to familiarize yourself with, when you get it, it's in this wire solder, it's a round wire, just like a regular silver wire. But in order to use it, I take my chasing hammer. Let's see if I can get a better view of it. And on my bench block, I hammer it out until it's flat. And then you snip off the little pallions off of it, off the flat side. And so that's my tools that I have. And I also have this other pair of handy tweezers that I will need to use to position this piece here as after I get my solder in place. So I've got my little ring into position there. I'm going to take some flux, just a little bit of flux, and I'm going to dab it right here where I want to put my solder to stick. And I'm also going to go ahead and flux my little piece of solder. And I have one extra laying here in case I were to lose this one, which could happen. And so I wanted to have one extra just in case something came up. And what I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to have my pick in one hand. And I'm going to go ahead and dip my pick into this flux as well. And then I'm going to get my torch into my other hand. And I'm going to go ahead and light it. And I'm using the Blazer micro torch for this one. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to heat until this, I probably got too much flux there, but I want to get that little piece of solder to ball up and roll up onto my pick. I'm going to have to wait till I get some of that flux burned away. And there it goes. It turned into that little ball. And see, now I have it here on the end of my pick, if you can see that. So now I need to come over here and heat the flux on the ring. And then I can stick that little piece of solder right there. Now hold on and I'll show you what it looks like up close. Let me turn off my torch. I'm going to set that down. I'm going to zoom in here. So you can see where I have the little ball of solder sitting on top of the ring. Cool. So that part worked. So now I need to take, with one hand, I'll be holding my little cup by the wire here in the center. And I need to put a little bit of flux onto the bottom of this cup. So I'll go ahead and do that with my paintbrush. Let me zoom back out. You guys can see a little bit better. I'm just going to put just a tiny little bit of flux here where I want my little cup to sit on top of the ring band. And at this point, I really want to make sure that when I go to put it down, that I have everything nice and steady. So let's get the torch back, turn it on, lock it on, and not burn our phone. So now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to heat on the band. This is a little bit awkward of a position for me, but I'm going to try it. I think I'm going to switch hands here, guys. I'm going to use my right hand to hold the cup because basically I'm a lefty. And I need to get a little bit more control on where this heat's going. I'm going to heat this band up. Then I'm going to come in up here. When I get that solder to flow, then I'm going to come in with my little cup. Okay, so everything that can go wrong on a video has gone wrong on this one. My sister called, and then my roommate came home early, and my solder was giving me a fit. So I'm going to show you guys what I've done to solve my own little problem here. All right, so I gouged out my little groove in the magnesium block that you can see right here. And then I've gotten my little cup positioned in my cross-locking tweezers like that. I'm going to go ahead and move that out of the way for a minute. So I'm going to be positioning my solder right there on the top of the ring band. But what I did to hold this ring band is I took the pins, which I showed you guys in the solder setup video that came with the little honeycomb soldering block, and I'm just going to position them so that they hold this ring band firmly in place so that I can get my hands free and have this little cup in something that's going to hold it firmly down into place when it's ready to be soldered on. So now I'm going to put the camera back in the tripod. Okay, so now I'm going to try this whole thing again. So I'm going to have to start again with putting some flux here. And I lost one piece of my little solder, so I've already gotten this little one right here balled up. So I'm going to put a little flux on it. And I'm also going to put a little flux on the solder pick, just like before. Same exact process, but now I have two free hands. So I went ahead and I basically made sure my torch is nice and full. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to heat up this little piece of solder once again. And once it turns into the little ball, I can pick it up with my little pick. And so that looks pretty good. Let's see if it'll stick to the pick yet. There we go. So now I'm going to come over here and try to get this into position again. Right here on the ring band. So I'm going to heat the ring band. I hope you guys can see. And get everything nice and all gooey. And hopefully my little piece of solder is going to stick right there onto the ring band. Well, if I can get it to stay. There it goes. Alright, so now that part's done. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to melt this solder. I'm going to get it to flow onto the ring band. So just bear with me while I do that. So there it has already flowed. Alright, so now I'm going to flux the bottom of my little cup. Let me turn my torch off. And we'll get back over here. We're going to put a little bit of flux here on the bottom of our little cup just to make sure we've got some on there. And now I'm going to bring my little cup right back into position and set it right down on that ring band, just like that. I'm not sure if you can see it really good, but it is down there. So now I'm going to take my torch, and I need to come down to where I can see really good at eye level. Turn my torch on, lock it. So now I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to start heating everything. I don't want to melt my little wire in the middle. So what I need to do is make sure that these little posts are warm that are holding my ring band, and my ring band is warm. Then I'm going to keep coming around here, and I'm going to start heating the cup gently. And I'm going to watch for that solder to flow one more time. And once I see that happen, then I'll know that my little cup is soldered on. Let me come back around this side just a little. Let me get over here where I can see. And I think everything is flowed and it's soldered together. So now I'm just going to let it sit there for just a couple of minutes, just to give it a little bit of time to cool before I try to remove that and accidentally pull that off. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and first I'm going to unpinch my cross-locking tweezers like that and move those out of the way. Then I am going to pull up these little pegs one at a time. And I can see a problem I already have, folks, and I don't know if you see it or not, but my solder that had my ring band held together has come undone. But that's okay. I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to go ahead and get this ring band into the quenching cup. So you can see the little cup is soldered on to the band. See if we can get it to not be so blurry. Let me go ahead and quench that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pickle this. And once I have it all nice and pickled, I'm going to come back and we're going to fix that band. So, like I was saying, everything that can go wrong has went wrong. But I'm going to fix it, and I'm not too worried about it. Just wanted to show you, here's the little honeycomb ceramic soldering surface that I talked about in the solder setup video that these little pins came with. And these little pins, man, these things are just such a little lifesaver and so cool. I'm so happy that I had those handy so that I could get at least this far with our project. Even though my ring band came unsoldered, I'm not going to let that be the end of my world. It can easily be resoldered. Alright guys, so I went ahead and I pulled this ring out of the pickle. And I'm going to explain to you how I've got this set up here on the edge of this little charcoal block. I took another little piece of this easy solder because being as I've used easy on the portion to put the cup onto the band, if I were to try to use medium or hard, I'm going to melt my cup right off of that band. And I may do that anyway. But what I did was I went ahead and cut a little pallion. You can't see it because it's actually laying underneath the ring right there at the little part that has to be soldered. You can see it here. And I've got everything fluxed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to spin this around just a little bit. I'm going to try my best to get that solder to flow on my ring band without melting my, the little cup part off again. So I'm going to start out by heating just a little bit around this ring band like this to get a little heat flowing. And I'm going to do it like that. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to try to pinpoint that heat right there on my little spot where I need my solder to flow. And I don't want to knock my cup off, so I'm going to have to try my best to get that little piece of solder to flow into that ring band. And there it just flowed in. Now, you can see because it settled. I don't know if you saw that part. But it settled in, and the ring actually settled down onto the charcoal block. So now I need to grab my tweezers again here. I need to pick that baby up. And luckily my cup did not fall off. So I can just quench the whole thing. And I want to throw it back into the pickle. Okay, folks, so that's pretty much part 2 of our little series here for making this ring. I'm going to do the polishing video. Will now include the ring and these little components I made for my daughter's necklace, and that's going to be in the next video. All right, so I hope you enjoyed today's quick little tutorial, part 2 of the Amazonite ball ring. And I will be back as soon as I can. Like I said, I'm going to my daughter's. I don't know if I'll get the polishing video done until I get back. She's having surgery, so I'll probably be gone at least a week. But I've got a couple of videos and things that I'm going to be posting up in the meantime while I'm gone. All right, so if you like this video, click like. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Head on over to the Bead mat. Follow the links in the eye and in the description box below. Sign up for my newsletter and for the blog. And I'll see you guys really soon.